Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Today we're checking out quintessential British afternoon tea.
This is all about the art of afternoon tea and what it means to us
Lovely.
British, as well as what to expect on the menu and a few hints and tips on how to get the very best out of this national obsession.
I've never had afternoon tea. Not officially. I've drunken tea in the afternoon, but I've never had the tea experience. Excited to see what I'm missing out on.
Tea was discovered, so the story goes, back in China around 2737 BC. The Emperor Shennong was resting in the shade of the Camellia sinensis tree when a leaf fluttered down into his cup of hot water. This small leaf went on to conquer the world.
So this Chinese guy, 2,700 years ago, drank water that turned brown from a leaf falling into it. I don't believe it. I think it's a convenient story.
Afternoon tea is usually taken around 4 or 5 o'clock, and here are a few essential components.
I always thought it was 4 o'clock on the dot. In America, we have a thing that we do about 20 minutes after that.
The first being, of course, tea. Although many people use tea bags, it's always best to use fresh brewed loose leaf, usually an Indian or Chinese blend, to get the best flavour. There's a vast range of tea from single estate to blends, but here are some of the many kinds served at Fortnum's where we are today. White peony king tea, Nanping yellow bud tea, finest Gukara tea, royal blend tea.
So when you go to tea at a place like this, you get to choose. That's pretty amazing. I can't say that I've ever brewed a successful cup of tea. Many years ago, I worked at a recording studio and I was doing an album, but the producer was an English guy named Peter Collins, and he told me how to do it, and he said it was good, but I think he was just being polite.
Then the cakes, of course. A Bakewell tart perhaps, or a lemon drizzle cake. Scones are also a must.
Hang on.
Light
A
or
what cake?
tea. Then the cakes, of course. A Bakewell tart perhaps, or a lemon drizzle cake.
A what tart? Hang on. Give me these captions.
A Bakewell tart perhaps, or a lemon drizzle cake.
It's a Bakewell tart. Oh, okay. Oh my god, raspberry jam and cream or custard. Oh my god, oh my god.
A Bakewell tart perhaps, or a lemon drizzle cake.
Both.
Scones are also a must. Light, golden and fluffy, slathered with clotted cream and jam. And
Stop
sandwiches. The crust cut off, filled with smoked salmon, chicken,
Oh.
cucumber, ham and cheese, or egg mayonnaise.
Those little sandwiches look familiar. I feel like in America we have them at like a little luncheon or a little, like, the garden club. Laying the table.
One of the things that defines this tradition and makes it so celebrated is its aesthetic appeal, a chance to bring out the good china.
Atmosphere.
The first teapot can be traced back to the 16th century in Yixing, China, made of porous, unglazed clay, but the art of the teapot is as rich as it is varied. And here's Dr. Andrea Tanner, the archivist at Fortnum & Mason, to give you a bit more background.
Whether you drank tea or whether you didn't, the chief bridesmaid had to give you a tea set as a wedding present. They're brought out now from time to time and used, and it's fun. If you have something beautiful, isn't it lovely to use it? But if you haven't got something beautiful, it doesn't matter.
I like this lady. She's like, if you got the good stuff, bring it on out. It's fun. If you don't f***ing worry about it. It doesn't f***ing matter. I like that.
A milk jug and a sugar bowl. If you have loose tea, a tea strainer and a holder for the tea strainer, a china cup, saucer and tea plate, knives and forks, perhaps a cake fork, preserve spoons if you happen to have them, otherwise teaspoons work perfectly well.
This is getting complicated. A milk jug, a sugar bowl, a china cup, saucer and tea plate, tea strainer, a holder, knives and forks, loose tea, cake fork, teaspoon. It's a lot. That's a lot of paraphernalia.
The table laid, the ceremony can begin.
Ceremony?
And how to make the perfect cup of tea? Well, the tea should brew in the pot for around 3 to 5 minutes for black tea, which is the most popular form of tea, and poured through a strainer into the cup to ensure no loose leaves are in the final drink. Add milk and sugar as you wish, but it's best to avoid milk with green teas.
I think I saw on an interview with Paul McCartney where he was talking about tea. Maybe it was Paul McCartney. But this person was saying that you should not wash the teapot. You get the remnants of the tea from the day before, and that helps intensify the tea flavor. Is that true? Is that gross? Is that unsanitary? Or is that a thing? Should I start doing that with my coffee pot?
Buddhist monks helped spread tea around Asia, while the British brought it to India. Now, this part of tea's history is closely entwined with empire, colonialism, greed, injustice, and war. But the East India Company, one of the first major tea traders, both rapacious and entirely unregulated.
It began really just in the homes of the aristocracy. You had to be rich in order to enjoy tea.
There's so many things to buy. You can tell this is a rich person's thing too, because it would be really easy for a rich person who has servants that are going to wash all this stuff to just say, yeah, bring the cake forks. Let's use all the knives. Bring that too. We need a separate spoon for the jam. They're not washing all this accoutrement.
In the 18th to 19th centuries, it was a huge employer across what became the British Empire. All tea, when Fortnum & Mason opened, was grown in China. By 1837, it was grown in India. From the late 19th century in Africa. It gave employment. It has to be said, a lot of that employment was indentured labour. And it's something that tea growers, tea drinkers, tea blenders, tea sellers have to acknowledge. And it's something that we have to deal with. And we have to deal with it in a very serious way.
But despite its murky history, tea remains Britain's most popular drink, with an estimated 100 million cups being drunk every single day.
Whenever I try to brew tea, it always comes out bitter, and I'm too much of a health nut to put cream and sugar in it. I don't usually drink it. I'm more of a black coffee kind of guy. But these coffee mugs will also hold tea available for purchase. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do. I hate when people do that. I just did it.
Tea remains Britain's most popular drink, with an estimated 100 million cups being drunk every single day.
Wow. Here we go. What is that?
When you go to a grand hotel or restaurant, presentation is every bit as essential as the actual tea, from beautiful cake stands to pretty napkins and tablecloths.
I think our ancestors would have been horrified at that amount of indulgence. In Victorian and Edwardian times, you would have had something called seed cake, which had caraway seeds in it. You might have had a slice of Madeira, so rather a plain, dry cake, some fruit cake, a great variety of tiny little cakes, which are really influenced by French and Austro-Hungarian bakers, don't really come in until the 1960s and 1970s.
Those look delicious. And I love the idea of these tiny little bites like amuse-bouche or whatever it's called.
You might have been a little bit disappointed with what you would have had in Edwardian times.
A debate still rages in England as to which order you should put the jam and clotted cream on your scone. And remember, scone like gone, not scone like home. Anyway, in Cornwall they believe the jam should go on first, followed by the clotted cream.
First
in
world
Devon,
problems.
It's the other way around. As to my view, well, I keep that very much to myself because I really do not want to get in the middle of a scone war.
Either way looks pretty good.
In Devon, it's the other way around. As to my view, well, I keep that very much to myself because I really do not want to get in the middle of a scone war.
I would probably put the cream, then the jam, then more cream, then more jam. And I think that would solve the problem.
There's a lot of chat about tea etiquette, but really it's all about observing basic good manners and nothing more. When the tradition started, it was a rather more formal affair. Sometime in the mid-19th century, Anna, Duchess of Bedford, a lifelong friend of Queen Victoria, felt a sinking feeling in the mid-afternoon. So asked a servant to bring her tea, along with bread and butter and a slice of cake. She then started to invite her friends, and a British institution was born.
That is a great idea. Kind of in between lunch and dinner. Yeah, you start to get a little peckish, a little tired. Nice little snack, cake, bread, tea. I'd be into that. I'm down.
In a tea room in Edwardian times, it would have been quite a different affair. The ladies would have worn tea gowns. These were dresses that were specifically created for having afternoon tea.
What?
And they were tea coloured. I don't know if that's because they were complementing the tea or they were worried if they spilt any. Nowadays, we don't wear specific clothes.
Wow, they had dresses specifically made for this. That is some luxurious first world shit.
One tradition which still stands, however, is the hostess pouring the tea. And be sure to take your time. Afternoon tea is about pleasure and stepping away from the daily grind, taking a break from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, an escape, a moment of peace, a deeply civilized experience.
Nice. So that was pretty extravagant. I imagine that British people don't do this every day. That seems like a once a month, maybe once a week thing. Do British people brew tea at home every day at 4 o'clock? Is that still a thing? I could get into the daily tea thing if it was a little healthier. I don't think I could let myself eat cake every day. Maybe if you have like a green tea, vegetables, or fruit. Really interesting. I didn't realize there was so much that went into a tea. What a great treat, though. I love the idea of afternoon tea. It makes sense, 4 o'clock, right between lunch and dinner, right? It almost seems like a no-brainer to have a little snack then. That must have been so much fun for these people who started it. Come over to my mansion at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we'll have tea and cake and just take our time and lounge around and talk smack about the poor people. It sounds fun. It sounds luxurious. I would be so frickin' fat, though. Y'all, I'm just gonna have to come to Britain and have afternoon tea every day while I'm there. It looks really fun, delicious, and I look forward to hopefully doing it someday. Anyway, really informative video. Thank you guys for recommending. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.